everyone, and thank you again for joining us for another episode of Bridge in the Gap. We will be talking about parents just don't understand. So, with that being said, I would like to thank all of our new supporters and subscribers. Once we get to 50 subscribers here on YouTube, we will be able to go live, which will be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to that. So, if you could please ask your friends and family and anybody else you can think of who would probably enjoy this podcast to please subscribe to us on YouTube. We're looking forward to it. As keeping with tradition, we didn't have any questions from last week. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I was actually raised in the early 70s and early 70s and 80s. And my parents were older. My mother was 38 when I was born, and my father was 47, I believe. So, and I was the baby in the family, so I pretty much came up by myself. I think by the time I came along, my parents, I won't say they were over being parents. However, I was the baby and I was pretty spoiled. I got away with a lot, but my parents were firm, not too strict, but firm. So I tried to instill the same thing with my daughters and sons. And so, with that being said, I honestly, as far as parents are concerned, some of the things that they did well, I was encouraged, I was loved, I was admonished when I was wrong. I was hugged on, I was kissed on. I knew that I was loved. In fact, my mother used to tease my father. They're both deceased now, bless their hearts. But my mother would tease my father because I would climb up on his lap and go to sleep, and he would literally pick me up and carry me and put me and tuck me in the bed. So that was our nightly routine, and I must have did that until I was like 7 or 8 years old. So in terms of thinking about what they could have did better, I don't think I could have asked for, honestly, a better set of parents. I cherish everything that they taught me and how I was brought up and raised. So, with that being said, Jasmine.
Well, yes.
So, I'm going to come back to my parenting style, but can you tell me some things that you thought as a parent I did that was good?
And how your parenting style has changed
just a little.
Yes. Okay. So what I think you did really good with is, like, you gave us a lot of freedom at a certain age. Like, I remember we could go outside as long as we were back by the time that the street lights came on. And at the time, we did live in Flint, Michigan, which is a really small city. It wasn't really a big population there. But in addition to that, all of the parents on the street knew each other and hung out with one another. So it wasn't like we was just out in the world without any eyes on us. But I never felt like you hovered over us, or like you didn't let us be free as children and have fun as children. So I think you did really good with that. And I also think you did really good with showing us how to be independent. I remember when you did go back to school, like, you would always let us know, like, I'm doing this for you all. I want to show you all a better way. I want to make life better for you all. So you were very vocal about that and letting us know why you were doing what you were doing. And I feel like that allowed us to see firsthand how to be independent and how to go after our goals, whatever it might take for us to get there. to do it. And then also, I feel like you did good setting a really good, like, I don't know if I want to say Christian foundation, but you did have us in church really early, and it never was like a forced go to church, because I do know sometimes I didn't want to go to church and you would let me stay at home with daddy. But there were times when I would go, and I don't know, I felt like it wasn't one of those where, like, because some parents force Christianity on their children. I never felt like it was forced on us. It was still a choice, but you took us and exposed us to it. So I think you did really good with that as well.
Well, awesome. So, in terms of my parenting style, I tried to emulate my parents, but at the same time, with you guys growing up in the time that you did, I didn't want to be like your friend, but at the same time, I wanted us to have a close enough relationship that if you felt that you needed to come to me, I wanted you to be able to come to me and not feel like, oh, I'm scared to talk to my parent. So I tried to formulate that type of relationship with you guys so that we could have those type of conversations if need be. Also, too, when you were growing up, in terms of all of the parents, we lived on the first street that we lived on, Prospect, was a really short street, and all of the parents at that time, it's funny because all of the parents were married couples, and we were all around the same ages, and we all had kids the same ages. So it was kind of like a village type situation, and we know it does take a village to raise children, and at that time we really did have a village. All of the parents, like you said, looked out for all of the kids. You know, if you weren't one place, you were another place. And the street was so short. I want to say maybe we had 8 houses in our block, maybe 4 or 5 houses on either side of the street. So it was really, really easy to keep up with you guys. Also, too, I did not really believe in allowing you guys to spend the night. I can remember a couple of times I let you have sleepovers other places. I really preferred for you to have the sleepover at our house, because I knew that I was not going to let anything happen to you nor your little friends. So that's kind of what I think my parenting style was. I want to say I was easygoing, but at the same time, when needed to be, I was firm. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I think I brought. So with that being said, Jaleesa, what do you think?
So as far as things that you did right, I feel like you really did a wonderful job instilling integrity in us. You always made us follow through on our commitments and things that we said that we would do. I feel like you were really great at talking to us and addressing our behavioral issues. Like when we would, act out, like after divorce and stuff, you didn't immediately go to, oh my God, my kids are acting up, they're bad. It's like, no, hey, you are acting out of character. Why are you doing, what is going on? Do you need to go talk to somebody? Because, so I feel like you were really good in that. And then I do feel like you were really good at not only giving us the things that we needed, but you also fulfilled a lot of our wants. Although we didn't get everything we wanted, I feel like you did a really, really good job of, making sure we had a lot of the things that we wanted. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I feel like you just did a really good job overall nurturing our relationship, especially as young adults. I could tell the older we got, and the more we could express ourselves, the more fun parenting got for you. I don't know if you get that impression, but I feel like now that we are adults, I feel like Mama really enjoys parenting us, which is funny.
I really do. I really do, because it's a different type of relationship now. Now we can talk about adult things, and now we can, I can, like we're having this conversation now, which is so good, and I'm sitting here like beaming with pride. So. Well, I can't wait to get to like what we like the negatives, like Mom, like you tell, what did I do wrong?
Well, not wrong, which is what we do different.
But what you do different, right. But in terms of how I raised you, how do you both think that what could I have done better? And I know Jasmine and I have had this conversation in the past, but we've grown from it. So I want our listening audience to hear, and maybe it'll help them in their relationship with their children along
and not
the way.
That, but truth be told, I know that we're not perfect parents. So these will be discussions that we have to have with our kids in the future. And I also want to be open and receptive to what Mama had. You could have did that, and I don't ever want my feelings to be hurt, because at the end of the day, like, there's no parenting guide,
right? There's no right or wrong way,
right?
So
I think that's what motherhood helped me learn more about our relationship, is that once I became a mom, I was like, oh, okay, Mama had 3 by this point. I don't know how she was doing it. Okay, so she was doing the best that she could, right? And so that's where I had to get to a place of understanding this. Like, yes, you didn't do everything right, but you did the best that you could. And so that's what helps me with some of the stuff. I was like, oh, I wish I could have did this a little differently, but that's growth.
That's honestly, that's fair, right? Like, that's very fair. We can only
we can't reverse the hands of time.
No, we can't reverse the hands of time, and I did at the time what I knew. We parent from a place of having been parented, if that makes sense. And so we draw from that, in our parenting styles. But that's fair.
I was gonna say, I think you also kind of had a disadvantage as well, because you did come from a 2-parent household. You were the baby. Your parents were a lot older when they had you. So I feel like grandmother and Poppy already kind of had a lot of opportunities to make some mistakes there. So by the time you came along, it was like, okay, we got this. We know what we're doing. Whereas you had something new. It was, you were married and then a divorce happened. So now your plan changed on what you thought was going to happen with raising us. Then you had to do schooling as well. Well, you chose to do schooling as well. So I feel like your path was a little differently than your parents. So again, there's a grace there of you did the best that you could with what you had.
Oh, sorry, that technical difficulties.
Oh no, you're okay. I would say what I do differently compared to what was done when I was a child is I try to show emotions with the children. I cry in front of them. If I'm mad, I let them know I'm mad. I don't try to put on a happy face for them. If I don't know something, or I feel like they're asking me something where I'm getting overwhelmed, it's like, hey, mommy doesn't know everything. I'm learning just like you learn. So I try to have those conversations with them. Not saying that you was emotionless when we were growing up, but I don't remember seeing you cry. And so it was like when I got older, it's like the first time I saw you cry. And so I did have a thing where I felt like, oh, if I'm crying, that means I'm weak. Like I'm not strong enough. But like my mom wasn't crying. Like, so if she could make it through it not crying, why am I crying? So I had to understand that you probably did have moments where you were crying and you were sad and frustrated. It's just you didn't do it in front of us.
I really did. I had a lot of moments where I cried, but I purposely, you know, tried to shield that from you because I did have a thing of, oh, I don't want my girls to see me as weak.
So no, I have broke that because I want to help them work through their emotions and not just, you know, try to hurry up and push through it, because that is something that I know I've done a lot of. If I'm sad or I'm mad, I don't want to sit in that. I just want to hurry up and get past it instead of really dealing with it. And that came about when I realized when I was pregnant with Kay that, hey, I've been depressed all this time, but I haven't ever dealt with it because I've just been trying, okay, let me just work. Let me just do this. Let me go do that. And, you know, just keep building and keeping myself busy where I wasn't dealing with anything. So I didn't want them to deal with that one day in the future. It's like, no, if you need to cry, go ahead and cry. It's all right. Then you keep it moving. Something else is I am intentionally super affectionate with them. Now, y'all know I do not like affection. Like, it's like, I remember Jaleesa used to try to kiss me like what? And you know, and it's because Jaleesa is just naturally affectionate, whereas I'm not too fond of it. But again, I know Mama also was not really the super affectionate type like that. And so I more so come from the point of, I don't want them to be like cringing when people like hug and kiss on them like I do. So,
or I used to have to bribe you.
Yeah, you have to do something.
Like, at 10, I was having to bribe my 6-year-old sister to be able to kiss her.
And nothing has changed because Jaleesa is still like that today. She was just on Saturday and he was pushing her away.
Yeah.
Let me kiss him in his head, though. He said that was all I was getting, but I was happy.
So I don't try to do too much with them, but like every single day I try my best to hug on them, kiss on them, and then I tell them like, hey, let Mama give you a little love. But they're like, I need some love.
That's good, Jasmine. Actually, that's very good. I'm glad.
You're like, yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to create healthy attachments there. So, and then the other thing that I do differently is, we talked on this last few episodes ago, is schedules. Like, really, really big on my schedule. So meal plans, hair routine, bed schedule, everything gets scheduled. They are very aware of the schedule. So it's to the point now where they know Fridays, it's a pizza night. So they don't have to ask me what we eating. They already know, oh, today Friday, oh, we having pizza? We having pizza. So I have done schedules for them. And it's just my way of helping create routine and discipline in them. Like, that's my way of looking at it. And I just know Mama, it wasn't that she was chaotic or like all over the place. It's just, we didn't have routine quite like that.
Other than bedtime. That was.
I don't remember time.
Really? I remember when we were younger. I remember having
when we were young.
Yeah, when y'all were young.
Yeah, when we were young, but
you know what? Yeah, I was.
It was like, hey,
they could.
Yeah.
As long as you make it to school, you good.
Right.
So I would say like those were like my main things that I do differently. Jaleesa, did you have anything differently that you?
Yeah. So look, I took some notes. So some things that I do differently is no sleepovers at all. Only because times have changed immensely. And like Mama said, the one thing about the parents in our neighborhood, Mama knew that, like, we really knew them. Like, Marquise, my best friend, has been my best friend since we were 7. We turned 30, so what, 20 something year, 30, almost 30 years. We had real relationships with those parents. They would come over our houses. We went over to theirs. they were allowed to discipline us, not physically, but like, hey, like, no, you know, you aren't supposed to be doing this. I'm gonna let your mom know, kind of thing. So it was that trust that was established.
And it was the point where we knew like cousins and aunts and stuff.
Yes, we would go. It was a couple times we went over to like I keep bringing them our quiz, but we went over to his cousin's house for birthday parties and things like that, because it was just a trust. Like, they basically, mama knew we were in good hands. We know that no one was gonna let anything happen to us.
Lonzo would load y'all up in the van and take our place over.
So and the only reason why I do that differently with my kids is because times have changed. You see people protect certain individuals in their family that should not be protected, and I'd rather just not even run that risk. When my kids do get to a point where they are like, well, mom, we really want to do a sleepover type thing. Okay, well, it needs to be at our home. I need to meet parents, that kind of thing. And it would need to be a friend that they've had for quite some time. Not, oh, hey, you know, Susie is my friend. She's my friend for a couple of weeks because she comes spend the night, kind of thing. No. The other thing that I do differently is letting my kids voice all of their opinions. Growing up, not just with mama, but just the adults in our house, we were not allowed to say somebody was telling a story. Even if they were, you know, we weren't allowed to say lying. Lying was like a curse word. It just, or like if I didn't like something, we weren't allowed to necessarily say we didn't like anything. I mean, you know, like, for example, I'll say, you know, you made something for dinner that we didn't like, or daddy made something for dinner that we didn't like. Daddy will be like, well, you know, you got to sit there until you finish eating, which is something else I don't do with my kids. If they are done eating, they say that they're full. That's that.
Yeah, I remember I fell asleep at the table many nights.
Just to make us step for hours. Something else that I do different is I let my kids pick songs in the car. I don't ever hit them with the, you don't pay the car note in this car. Like, you listen to whatever. We do it a little different in my car. Everybody get a turn on the radio in the floor. Yeah, so we do a little Taylor Swift. We do a little let me think, who else we do? Bryson Tiller. You know, we go back and forth. Chris Brown.
But your kids got good taste.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah,
so I don't mind, you know, giving her some control over the radio. But I'm like, dang, that times did change with that, because I didn't get a say on the radio at all.
No. I'm keeping the same then, because Paw Patrol is getting no play.
And then the very last thing that I do differently is I don't ball their lips. What you saying? I remember whatever. It was like 5 or 6 times my lips got bald. So silly. Bridg said something yesterday, and Cedric was like, "Oh, that would have warranted balling up for the lips."
That is funny.
Well, again, I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be better than our parents. So, you know, so those are the things that I do differently. Some things that I do the same. Is I remember Mama, whenever I told her I loved her growing up, she would always say it back. So I make sure I do that for Bridg. She tells me she loves me all the time. I always express to her, Andrew, when they make me proud, because again, mama had no problem doing it. Hey, you know, I am so proud of you, especially when it comes to school. So like those are things. And then I want, like, Bridg is really open and honest with me now, like sometimes too open and honest. But I love that because she sees me be like that with mama. And I know, like, that's where she gets it from. Or like, you know, I call mama pet names. You know, I'll be like, mama, with your cute self. And she'll say it to me, I'll be doing such like, mom, what you over there doing with your cute self? So like, I love that she sees that dynamic and she emulates that. She knows that I'm a safe space. I always felt like mama was a safe space for us. So, you know, we are laughing and joking and stuff. Overall, you know, like you said, mama wasn't a perfect parent and she did the best she could. But overall, I think you did a really, really good job for it to be, you know, to have just been, almost about to make me cry, but I really do feel like, you did an amazing job. And I feel like you were a single parent, even though, you know, not, I want to say single parent for most of us growing up, because I know our dads always worked outside the house, and then you started working from home. When did she started working from home? When we were still in high school.
Yeah, y'all were in high school. Right? Yeah.
So you kind of be like a stay-at-home working mom towards the end of high school year. And then what I will say too is I could tell mom took a page out of Poppy and grandmother's book when it came to Kavan, because you know,
absolutely, Kavan got away with everything.
Yes, and not only that, but he is so spoiled. And I feel like that's where I feel like the babies get lucky when they're that young of a baby, because not only do you get it from your parents, but then your older siblings too, you know. So
well, you have to think it was a large gap between you guys and Kavan.
Right.
And I think you gotta realize, like, I've been parenting kids for a long time. So by the time he came around, it's like, oh, right. I was not the easiest child. No. So by the time I'm say by the 10, I was kind of like, ooh, Lord.
And then I kind of feel like we grew up together. Whereas Kavan really did get a chance to, you know, and then Kavan kind of had you to himself. And then, you know, you had a really good job. I just feel like, his dynamic was perfect. Like I'm envious of his dynamic versus, you know, ours.
Because he was getting dropped off in the bins.
Yeah.
We was taking the bus.
And he literally was right around the corner and he did not want to take the bus. Like, no,
you know what? It is a such thing as too spoiled. So he is that.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yeah.
So Jasmine, in your parenting, let me ask you this. Meals. Let me ask you about meals. I came from a generation, I think Jaleesa alluded to this. Whatever it was that my mom cooked, I had to eat or else. Every now and then I could get away with going to McDonald's, but it wasn't too often. With you and your children, do you do separate meals or what? What do you think about that? Doing separate meals?
So 2 out of the 3 had dairy allergies early on, and one still has a dairy allergy. So I started off where I would do separate meals with them, but then it got to the point where it wasn't cost effective. So I started paying attention to, okay, what items do they all like? And so it's kind of lazy, but it's kind of smart in the same way. Now I only cook things that I know for a fact that they will eat and they like. And every now and again, I'll throw in something new just to give it a test go. And so with like Jaleesa said, I don't make them eat it, but I do make them try it. You have to at least try it. And if you try it at least once and you don't like it, okay, you don't have to eat it no more. I'll get you something else. But for the most part, they all eat the same things. I know Kay, it doesn't like yams, but Jazeera and Kenji do. So with that, I'll make her French fries, whereas I'll give the boys yams because I know she don't like it. So I don't make them eat things that I know that they don't like.
Mm-hmm. You know what? So I'm glad, and that's funny. That was one thing I forgot on my list too. I let them pick dinner. They do get a say so in dinner. Not that we never did, but for the most part, I'll ask them in the morning, what do you want for dinner? What do you think you want for dinner? Because I, know that they'll be more inclined to eat it. Now, Drew had it his way. He would have fries and chicken nuggets every night. But I try to, like I made pizza tonight because I knew we were, shooting a podcast or what have you. So I wanted something that I knew that they would eat, which they did. But yeah, I give them a lot more of a say so when eating meals and stuff like that, and a lot less seems to go to waste.
And see, like I said, I didn't have that option. It's like, this is what I didn't even have the option of suggesting. What we were gonna eat, like, cause my father. So back in those days, it's like I felt like the husband picked it was what it was he wanted to eat, and the wife made it, and that was that. And either you ate or you went to bed hungry. So that, that's how I was raised. So that's a little different from how you guys are raised. Now, I remember a couple of times saying, "Well, what do y'all want?" Or if we went out to dinner, like, okay, what do y'all want to eat? We're gonna go out. What do you want to eat? So in terms of that, I think I kind of like did things a little differently from how I was raised.
Yeah, and I like how often we did that. Remember when we used to do our runs to Pizza Hut? That, like, it was little things like that. Like it wasn't we do that a couple times a month. We would go have lunch pizza, and they had that dessert pizza. Remember that? Oh man, that was some of the best times. Like the little things like that, I feel like created that helped build that foundation. I treasure those memories, and that was like 30 years ago.
It's funny sitting here having this conversation because now I'm sitting here thinking another thing that I tried to do too with you guys is, I don't know, when did I start the birthday meal thing? I started that a long time ago because I remember, Jasmine, for your 17th or 18th birthday, I want to say it was out, you wanted to go to the melting pot. You remember that? And we went to the melting, and it was so good. It was so funny because I had no idea how expensive the melting pot was. It was so expensive. I spent, like $130 on that meal. Like years ago. And
it was just us too. So I will say that's also something I think you did really good, is you did good introducing us to like food places and like foods like banana pudding, bread pudding. You really put us on that. And then we would go to a lot of sit down restaurants. It wouldn't be like McDonald's, Taco Bell. We would go to sit down restaurants a lot. So you did really good with that too.
Well, I feel like that's important. Yeah. That is setting your kids up to know how to act in public and to know how to conduct themselves in public. If we have to, if we're eating with utensils, so that was twofold why I did that. One, let's go out to eat, and then two, so you would know how to conduct yourselves in a restaurant. It's nothing worse than going out to a restaurant and you got the little kid behind you kicking and screaming and all of that. It disrupts the meal. So.
And he didn't limit us. Like we didn't have okay, y'all can only get this side of the menu. Like you didn't do like you let us get what we wanted.
Yeah.
So I said it was a little spoiled in that sense.
Another thing that I can think of that I've carried with, so it's like income tax season. So when we could always tell when it was that time, because mom be like, All right, we head out to the malls and get whatever y'all want, and we would get everything, like nothing, like it was like no, like, and then after we did a day of shopping or 2 days of shopping, then it's, well, let's go out to eat. Like, okay, it's like,
we had the baby fat.
Those good old days.
Yes.
Now I have to pay.
Right, now you right. Times have changed.
Definitely.
But you know what? Look. But you know what? It means that you doing your thing in life. That's what. Advanced education and a nice.
I didn't spend it on a man. Like,
no.
That's a different podcast.
Yes, but and so when it comes to us, the kids and I pretty much carried on the same thing. It's all about making sure they are completely good. Anything that they need or want or they've been talking about, we do it. And then of course we always end the day same way she did. We go out to eat and things like that. I think you did a really good job with outings too. We were always going to go see movies and getting out. You took us to Cedar Point. We went there. Cedric said that's where
that's the inside joke.
But he was like,
that's where he got sugar.
Yeah, he said he got scrambled that day when she was on the ride.
I'm so mad.
I'm picking on my baby.
We love but yeah, like I said, it's the phenomenal things definitely outweigh anything that could have been improved upon. So I know she was nervous, like, oh man, what they gonna say?
I wasn't nervous because I didn't realize, like I said, Jasmine and I had talked about that, like, well, I wish you would do this. So I was fully aware of that, but I wasn't nervous because I know that I purposely, like, I wasn't one of those parents that just had kids and did not think about it. Like, when I had you guys, it was purposeful, and one of my favorite things was you didn't ask to be here. So I felt that being a parent and what I wanted to instill in you guys so that you would, when you had kids, is that your kids that not asked to come, and it is your responsibility to make sure that you give these children the best possible life you can. That is your one job as a parent, is to make sure that you are raising a happy and healthy adult, that they'll grow into this, for as much as you can. The world is horrible, it's a horrible place. It's gonna beat you up while you are in the sanctity and safety of the cocoon of your home. That is the most important foundation that you can give the kids. Mm-hmm. So that's what I tried to instill in you guys. And and it wasn't, I didn't really do it by myself. Let's just be honest. You had aunts, you had grandparents on both sides, and they really spent a lot of time with you guys too. So we were all in it together. And I thank God for that, because, I'll tell anybody, I think I have some of the best kids that I know. And, it definitely, what I did back then definitely paid off. Yeah. So I couldn't be happier as a parent, honestly.
And what I was thinking about a couple of weeks ago is, Cedric has gone back to work and everything, and he is, for the most part, he's back to himself, and he's back to cracking jokes and everything after his catastrophic accident. And I couldn't help but think, like, man, like, if I had to describe all of us in one word, I would say resilient. Mm-hmm. I feel like we are some of the most resilient adults that I've ever come across. We have, I feel like, man, gone through the ringer at times in life, And, when you talked about how, your coping mechanism, you can't remember a lot of, things or periods of time, due to the way that your brain chose to cope. But even with that, the traumas and all of that, I feel like we still turned out, we aren't perfect, but I think we turned out to be really phenomenal parents, and adults. And again, I think, we had a good foundation for that. But I do, when I see how resilient we are, I'm like, man, like yeah.
But you know what? I think to me, allowing you guys to make mistakes as teenagers, you know, nowadays we have helicopter parents. Nobody wants somebody to say anything to their kids. They don't want, they don't want you to touch their kids. And nowadays you cannot go around putting your hands on people's kids.
Right.
But I will say, allowing your child to make a mistake and not always being there to catch them when they fall is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it teaches you how to become resilient, So I think that's a mistake that a lot of parents make today, is that they want to be that cushion when their child falls or makes a mistake, and it doesn't give the child a chance to learn from their mistakes. So another thing that we kind of touched on was growing up in church. I grew up in church. I went to Sunday school and everything. I was in church every Sunday. So I knew how that felt as a child. And honestly, there came a time once I became an adult, I had to sit back and think about it, like why do I do the things that I do? And it wasn't because so much as this was how I was taught. I didn't have a choice but to go to church.
Right.
So in terms of that, as I got older and my thinking kind of changed, I'm like, I wanted you guys. Nobody else can have a relationship with a higher power. Like, I cannot have that relationship. You have to have that relationship. So in terms of that, I wanted you to be able to make your own decisions about that, what type of relationship, what you believe in, and all of that. I don't believe in forcing my I won't say religious, because I'm a spiritual person now. I'm more into spirituality than religion, but I don't believe in forcing it on kids.
Right.
So,
and I like that too, because I feel like we all have a relationship with God. So that Cedric is look, he got his ordainment through the Universal Life Church, so he home minister, but he loves his gospel music, and he says that he talks to God all the time. He wrote a letter to God that we found, which was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
And I pray often. I listen to, especially on Sunday when I'm going to the grocery store, I like to listen to my gospel music blast, and I try to always be thankful for my blessings. I can't tell you the last time I stepped foot into a church, but I like to think that I'm living my best moral self. And then, I know that I just called you over the weekend the other day, and you couldn't answer the phone. She's like, hey, I'm in church right now. I'm doing my church. So I know that you have a relationship with God, and I love that it was not forced by Mama. Mama did. We all have our own individual relationships with God. And that's exactly how I am with the kids. They've never, been to church, but I tell them all the time, like, I want, Brie to do charitable things. I want to take them to help feed the homeless. I want, they see me, do charitable things. We donate, clothes and things to the less fortunate, and just overall being kind to others. So you can definitely
starts at home.
yes,
For sure.
definitely instill those Christian values, or like to say, those Christian values, those moral values, empathy. You can instill that in your kids without stepping foot into a church.
And I think you also did really good with like having that balance of like being open but not too open. Like you never was judgmental, and I feel like because of that, like we're not judgmental as people. Like I feel like all of us are all pretty open and accepting of people, and I feel like that's always something that you did really good of showing and exhibiting yourself. And then again, just back with like the freedom, like you did give us within range a lot of freedom to make our own choices and our own decisions. And even though some of those decisions you weren't fond of, and you would let us know, hey, if it was me, I wouldn't do that, but you still let us do it. So I think you had a really good balance of letting us be.
Yeah, I you know what, I tried. I'm gonna circle back to something Jaleesa said. So when she had called you the other day, you were in your service. Now, what do you do for the children? I know that your children are younger, but what do do they ask questions? So
I was gonna say Jaleesa, but Kay, because Kay reminds me so much of Jaleesa, but Kay is really inquisitive. So Kay asks all of the questions, and so she'll ask like, well, if God can see me, how come I can't see him? Well, like God is everywhere. Like he's in your heart. He's in my heart. Sometimes when you speak to a stranger, you could be speaking to God. God is everywhere. So I try my best to talk to her, not as like a 4-year-old, but just as a person, because I know she's not always going to be 4. And I try my best not to like baby things down for her, or I try my best to be as honest and open with her, because I do know like she is growing, and if she don't learn the truth from me, she gonna learn it from somebody else. So I'd rather she get it at home, and we built that level of trust there. So with the children, as far as religion go, I don't push anything on them. If they want to go to church with me, then they can come. If they don't have to. If they want to go to children's church, I let them go to children's church. If they want to be where I'm at, I let them be where I'm at. And it's so unique. It's like the very first time I did take them to church, they all sat with me, and I remember at the end of the service, everybody came up to me that was around me and was like, how did you get them to be so quiet this whole service? And I was like, honestly, I didn't do anything. That they were interested in what was going on. And then also because I do let them have so much freedom at home. Like when we're at home, y'all can do whatever y'all want to do, as long as y'all not jumping on the couch and not breaking stuff, y'all not fighting. But if you want to go over here and play with this thing, go do that. So I do let them have a lot of freedom within range again. So when we are in public settings, they're not wilding out or just running all over the place, because they already have did that at home. So like, they didn't already got their little energy out. So a lot of times when I am out and about and they are well behaved, a lot of people ask me, well, how do you do it? And it's really not me. It's just I let them have their freedom at home. So when we're out and about, it's no need for them to just go crazy.
See, I love that.
Yeah, I do.
I didn't even know you had started going back to that. When you said that you were in church, I thought you were like looking at it online. Like
no, that day I was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But no, they have been in church, and
really,
yeah, sometimes they want to do it, sometimes they don't.
You know what? I can see them sitting there because they're a little mature, and mature age. So yeah, I can see that.
Well, what were you about to say, Jared?
No, you go.
No, I was gonna ask, outside of that, are there things that you are trying to actively improve upon while being a parent? Like for me, we talked about, so my patience. I know that I can get a little impatient with them sometimes, especially if I have to keep repeating myself. But again, it goes back to those relaxation techniques we talked about a couple. So like because I feel like, we would spend a lot of time in our bedrooms and stuff while they like being up under me. And so my patience is the biggest thing. So if ever Bree and I are having this conversation 10 years from now, she's like, Mama, you know what I worked on? You could have been a little bit more patient with it. And I raise my voice a lot. So those are things that I recognize in myself. That, okay, you gotta work on this, because I don't want them to,
Something that helped me with that, because I used to yell a lot too, is instead of yelling, now I whisper. And like that little shift, because then they'll quiet down because they want to hear what you gotta say. So that's what has helped me not yell as much. It's like whenever I feel that need, I'm like, no, do the opposite. And so as quiet as I can get and quiet down so that they hear what I'm saying. So that has helped me. But something that I am actively working on as well is getting out more with them. Like, y'all know I love being at home. If I could stay indoors 24/7, never see nobody else ever again in life, I would be okay. But for them, that's not good. That's not healthy. So that is something that I have actively been working on, is trying to get them outside more. And even when I'm on the playground, try to talk to the other moms out there, try to build a little something just so that maybe we can start doing play dates or help them make little friends. So that's what I've been actively working on, trying to be better with.
Good. So another question that I don't think that we've covered. So have either of you ever read any parenting books?
I've not.
I have read quite a few, and they actually are helpful. I will say that. The best advice I received from another mom is, instead of trying to read about where you're currently at, like read an age ahead, because like trying to actively change in the midst of things is kind of hard to do. But if you prepare for, say, Bridg being 10, what she's probably going to be like at 10, just start reading about 10-year-olds now. By the time she gets 10, it's a little bit easier to implement that, because then it's new territory for the both of you all. Okay. So I have read a lot of parenting books. Did you read parenting books, Mom?
You know what? I read Pregnancy and What to Expect. And then even then, I want to say like the first couple of years, I have read a few parenting books, but something that you said that you touched on, I think is so funny. I know there is a huge difference in you guys versus your children. So when you said about her when she gets to be 10, she's 6 now, and to read, I can't even imagine, because even at 6, she has the characteristics of a 10-year-old. Even with Cedric's baby is 2. And I just was sitting there observing them a little while ago, and I just told Jaleesa and Cedric, like, wow, this baby is 2 years old, but yet she's relating to Bree on Bree's level, which is crazy to me. Like, they both were sitting down and, looking at their little tablets, and, then they go back and play with the Barbies and all of that, which is, it's just so kids are way more mentally mature and advanced than when I was a child, and definitely when you guys were a child. Like, I can remember playing with dolls at like 10, 11, 12 years old. I can't even imagine nowadays, 12-year-old playing with a doll. That's almost unheard of.
They probably doing their makeup in here.
Yeah. Because I remember like one of the last Barbie sets that we got when we were older was the Destiny's Child Barbies. Remember that? And we were like, I want to say I was like 11 or 12 when you got us those, and we played with those dolls for a really long time.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, children are definitely advancing. A little scary in a way.
Yeah, it is. And a little sad because it seems like babies aren't babies for very long anymore.
And then there's something else I did want to touch on that I have tried to do the same as Mama is with coloring. Like, I will sit down and I will color with them, because I do remember you used to color with us at times. So that is something I do the same with them. Is like, I want to, because I remember how I felt when you would color with us. And oh, she's so good at coloring. I want to be good like this. And you know, it's just something that I do with them. And then also cleaning with music. Like on Saturdays, you know it's time to clean. The music is playing.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny that you say that, because even with Bridg, like, she has to have her little cleaning music. She'll say, look, I'm playing our music, what you want to hear, so we can start cleaning
on her tablet, on her tablet. She'll go to YouTube and she'll be like, Chris Brown new flame, and it'll come on, and then she's like, "Mom, okay, let's start cleaning."
It is so cute, but I am so happy that we had this episode. I really feel I'm coming out this episode, like I said, beaming with pride. Not so much as what I did right. It's just that when I hear you both speak on what you do with your kids based on what I did with you guys, makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like I did a good thing. You know, I really, the thought and intention that I put into raising you guys really paid off. So I'm really happy about that. So with that, we are going to wrap up the show. And before I give the quote of the day, is it anything else that either one of you would like to say?
No, well, I was gonna say the only thing that I had was with the whole balling up of the lips. I knew. When you like, wait, let's wait for. I knew that was gonna get you. That's why I saved it for last.
When I said I was crying,
lips. You remember that?
I had forgot all about that.
I'll never forget it, especially considering how big that wall. That wall wasn't no joke.
You definitely was getting them both.
What was I about to say?
Man, no, that was funny. That was a really good core memory that you brought back. What I was gonna say is, what I have not yet started, but I do plan on starting when I get a little bit older, is again something that came from you, is the New Year Eve tradition where we would have our apple cider. And watch the ball drop. Like, that was something I loved that we used to
and you know what, we still do that to this day. Like, we still do that to this day. So I'm
gonna keep the ball rolling with that one.
Yes, exactly. And you know what,
all these traditions,
these are traditions that we are passing down. So that makes me feel good. So yes, please, ladies, continue them. Even when I'm gone, I will no time soon, of course, but I will be so happy about that.
But really quickly, where did you get that from? Like, is that something that grandmother probably did with us?
No, I just started that. You know what? Because so I want to say a couple of times I actually went out for New Year's Eve. This was like, and then I remember one time I went out and you and Jaleesa was like, well, Mama, we want to do, or what can we do? So that's kind of how that got started. Then it was like, I'm not going out. I'm just spending New Year's at home with my kids. So that's kind of how that got started.
Yeah, it's definitely
Good one.
One of my favorite traditions too.
Yeah. So, well, with that being said, we want to thank you again for joining us. And please, please, please subscribe, tell all your friends and family. And I'm going to leave you with the quote of the day. Raise your words, not voice. It is the rain that grows the flowers, not thunder. And from the poet Rumi.
Oh, that's good.
It's very nice.
Yes. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. And please join us on Thursday. It will be our fun topic.
Yes.
Yes. We will be covering some fears.
Yes.
Yes. Bring your fear factor.
Yes. I got a whole list of my
Yes. Okay. Well,
thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.